Takadosh Boker Or Masechet Gittin Daf Amud Aleph 58:1. We were talking about Itmar. It was stated. We're on the last line of Memtet Amubet where it says it was stated Arev de Ketubah, an Arev on a Ketubah, Divra Kol Lam Ishtabed. According to everybody, it's not going to be subjugated, which means he doesn't have subjugation, right, to pay off his Arevut. Which means that if somebody makes himself an Arev for a Ketubah, we're going to say that he didn't actually subjugate himself to come to pay off the chov in the ketubah, because he only accepted upon himself arevut and not kablanut, right? That's going to be number one. And number two, also, the woman herself, she didn't lose any money on smach the arevut. So therefore, he's not benefiting from this, that he became an arev. So because of that, we don't say that he becomes subjugated on this. You understand? Which means that, remember, an arev means you become a guarantor. But here, on the ketubah, that he has to pay somebody back. Yes.
I have a ketubah and I have a guarantor.
A guarantor on the ketubah. So that guarantor of the ketubah cannot lose out money because he says, listen, at the end of the day, right, she didn't do anything al smach the ketubah. It's not like she came and because of this ketubah, and she knew that our good friend here was the guarantor, she went and she started spending money or she did something, because the guarantor, the ketubah is not 100% that you're going to get it anyways. Understand? Does she 100% get the ketubah? No. If she dies first, she gets ketubah. Her inheritors get a ketubah? Nothing. The ketubah is not something certain. And she's not coming, it's not like a loan that I'm coming and taking out a loan and I have a guarantor that I took out a loan because of you. Or I came and I did something and now I gained because of you. It's not that. We're not talking about that. So therefore, if you become an arev on a ketubah, according to everybody, there's no shi'abud. Kablan de balchov, and if it's a kablan of a balchov, according to everybody, it is mishtabed. You know what a kablan of a balchov is? That you became exactly, you became the arev kablan. They go directly to you. There, according to everybody, it is mishu'abad. Okay, fine. Arev de balchov, but an arev of a balchov or a kablan of a ketubah, that's a machlok between them. Why? Because here, if you became a kablan of a ketubah, she's not even going to go to the husband. She doesn't care about the husband. She's going to go straight to this guy. That's what she's going to do. It's completely different. Yeah? So he comes and he says, there are those that say, even though there's no nechasim to the loveh, right? He's going to be mishtabed. You want in Hebrew or in English? בעברית? יש פה בעברית, לא? He says, even though there's no properties to the loveh, to the borrower, mishtabed, he will have a shi'abud to pay back the chov. And some people actually say, if he does have properties to the loveh, to the borrower, mishtabed, then he is mishurabad to pay back the chov. But if he does not have properties, then he's not going to be mishtabed. The same thing for a kablan of a ketubah, right, that we were just mentioning over here. He's not going to be mishtabed unless the person has a properties. Okay? He says, because basically, according to this, we're going to say that there's no chacha, right? There's no proof, right? That was mitkaven be'emet to be mechayev et atzmo, and therefore he's only going to be mechayev in the nechasim. Okay? But if he didn't have any nechasim, so we're going to say, so then the arev himself also was a mishtabed. Yeah? Fine. Now he comes and he says, v'hilchata. What's halacha? He says, v'hilchata shebechulhu af al gav de letle. And in all these cases, even though there's no properties whatsoever during the time of the chayvut, mishtabed, there is going to be shtabedut, which means a subjugation, bar mi'arev de ketubah, except for an arev of a ketubah, even though the person does have properties, meaning this husband does have properties, lo mishtabed, it's not going to be mishtabed. My time also reasoning, mitzvah hu David. There's the arev only just did a mitzvah to get them married together. Velo midi chasra. Right, and he's not losing anything from the woman, from the fact that she's agreeing to get married, and therefore the arev did not finish off in his mind to be mishabed himself in order to pay back. Only, leratzot et isha, he wanted to make sure that the woman was calm in order to get married. So one more time, what's an arev of the ketubah? Person comes and he gets married. John Doe gets married, so he wants David to become the arev in the ketubah. So David comes and he signs on the ketubah. He's an arev. Now, technically speaking, he was only doing a mitzvah. What was the mitzvah that he was doing? He wanted to make sure that she's going to get married, and she's going to agree to get married. So therefore, he comes and he signs off on it. But when he was doing this, it wasn't like he was making her lose anything. It wasn't like something happened that she took a risk or she went, she got married, right? But he did a mitzvah. Now she agrees to get married. So the fact that that happened, right? He never had in his mind to completely subjugate himself and all his fields and properties to this ketubah. He didn't have that in mind. So therefore, it's not going to be, right, mishu'abad. Amar Ravina comes and he says, Tashemar, we're going to try to bring a proof. Mikara de tekantin, from the beginning, the shorosh of the takana, which was basically to take ziborit for a ketubah. You remember we said that when a woman collects her ketubah, it's always from the inferior part of the property, which is basically from the ziborit. Yoter mima she'ish rotze lisa, isha rotza linaseh. More than a man wants to get married, a woman wants to get married more than a man. Meaning there's always this factor that a woman wants to get married more than a man wants to get married. Okay? Now, if you're going to tell me, right, that this takana was only going to be from the yitomim, hamishum diyatmehu, he says, without what you're getting ziborit is because of the yitomim, and not because the woman wants to get married. So therefore, obviously, it's coming out of the takana to collect ziborit was because that a woman wanted to get married more than a man wants to get married. So this takana was only just because of the yitomim. Even without that, even for a grusha, a woman gets divorced, she also gets a ketubah. There's no yitomim. Baruch Hashem, shtehem, both of them are chayim v'kayimim. They're both chay v'kayim for another 120 years. But still, there was a takana, she gets ziborit. Why does she collect from the ziborit? Because a woman wants to get married more than a man wants to get married. So tiyufta the marzutra tiyufta, you're right. So this is actually a tiyufta against, right, marzutra. So it comes out that even a grusha, right, she will only take ziborit. Why? Because at the end of the day, right, she wants to get married more than what the man wants to get married. So it's only just because of yitomim, right, that you're not going to collect from the yitomim only from the inferior, from the worst part of the field. No. It's mamash because of what we just mentioned, right? That a woman wants to get married more than what a man wants to get married. Okay, fine. He comes and he says like this. Amar Morzutra b'der Rav Nachman mishmed Rav Nachman. Says Morzutra, the son of Rav Nachman, in the name of Rav Nachman. Shtar chov. He comes and he says like this. A shtar chov, which is a yotzeh ala yitomim. Yeah, so which means that you've got a shtar chov, right, which is coming out on the yitomim. Af al pi shekatuv bo shvach. Even though the shtar chov is written over there that the halva'ah was on t'nai, right? The halva'ah, meaning the loan was on condition that he was going to collect the idit, meaning until now we're talking about the norm. The norm is that damages have to pay. No, damages. The top one, idit. Very good. Loans have to pay benonit, and the kitubat isha ziburit. That's a norm. It's a normal case. What happens if I'm going to lend you money and I say, you know what, I'm going to lend you the money, but on condition you pay me the idit? It works. So he says over here, what happens if you have, it's not Belgian, this is my condition. You want the loan, you take it.
Okay.
Of course. Shtar chov hayotzeh layitomim. A shtar chov that comes out on the yitomim. Yeah, and it's written there, af al pi shekatuv bo shvach, even though it's going to be written shvach, eno goveh, right? You're not going to be goveh, right? The two dots over there. Yeah, eno goveh la mina ziborit. You're only going to collect from the ziborit. Okay? Which means that here, even though it was written in Furash, the fact that it's going against Yitomim, it's only Ziburit. Even though it's written that he's going to collect the Yidit. No, sorry, Ziburit. So Rabbi is going to come and bring a proof. Teida, you should know, the Balchov dine bebenonit. Because a Balchov always collects Menonit. However, though, Miyatme, the Ziburit. But when he comes, the same Balchov comes to collect from the Yitomim, he only collects Ziburit. So because of that, the exact same halacha would apply here. Which means even though there was a condition that he wanted idit, but there's a special rule. By the yitomim, it's always going to be the ziburit. So I don't care what was the norm or what was the condition. By yitomim, that power, right, that from the yitomim you only collect from the ziburit, overpowers everything else.
What about grusha?
Elmaleh Rava comes and he tells Abaye, Hach yashta, can you come and you compare, right, these two cases? He says, right, Balchov, dinemi deoraita beziburit. A Balchov mideoraita collects from ziburit. Kedeula, just like Ula. The Amar Ula says, right, Devar Torah Balchov beziburit. The Dvar Torah the Balchov collects from Ziburit. Shenema says the pasuk in Devarim. Bachutz ta'amod. Outside you have to stand. And he's going to come. He's going to bring out, right, his cloak. So you see from here, right, that the loveh is the one which is kovea, the mashkon that he's giving.
Obviously.
Meaning that the one that he's taking the loan, the borrower, he's the one that's giving to you the article, which is going to be the guarantee. So the fact that he's going to take this for you, so therefore, what does it come out? It comes out that ki'ilu, right, that who's the one that's giving over the article? The borrower. So for midin Torah, it's ziborit. Umadar koshel ish leotzi. Now, if somebody's going to ask you for a guarantor, right, a guarantee, what are you going to give them? You're going to give them the lowest of all the different names. Pachot shebekilim, the lowest value. You're not going to come and give him a very expensive, something very expensive. You're going to come and give them the worst of everything. So matam amru balchov. So why do they say then that balchov collects benonit? Meaning mitzad the din Torah, balchov is also beziborit. So why do they say benonit? Says, you know why? In order not to come and to close the doors in front of the people that are lending money. Meaning, if the lender is going to come and he's going to see that I can only collect from the ziborit, I would never do it. Why would I never do it? Because I don't want your garbage. I want the good stuff, right? So therefore, this is what I want. Vegam vegabeyatmin, to do with Yitomim, ukmu rabbanana doraita. So the rabbis placed it back on the doraita, right, to do the Yitomim. Okay? So he comes and he says, Elahacha, but over here, Kevin the dine midoraita bidit, since over here, midoraita, it should be with bidit, because since he said mefurash, that he wanted to collect idit, it's midoraita should be with the karka of idit, because that was the condition, meaning he accepted it. And that's it. When he says, when you accept a condition, you accepted it. He says, afilu miyat minami midit. So therefore, even if it's going to be from Yitomim, you take from the idit. They bring a proof from when it said from Yehuda, that he comes and he says, Anochi arvenu, right? That basically, that when you come and you accept upon yourself a certain type of an adivut, it's chal, 100%. You cannot come and go against it. Meaning, imagine right now, the going rate of percentages on interest rates is going to be 5% for a regular, right, a loan, meaning like for a residential loan, and let's say it's going to be 6, 7, whatever it is for a commercial, right? I go to my good friend over here, yeah, Rondo, and he comes and he tells me 10%, yeah? He tells me 10%. I say, okay. I come and I sign off on it. I can't come afterwards and say, listen, I apologize, but it's 5% the going rate, or 6 or 7% for the commercial rate. You say, Adoni, slicha, did you accept it? Did you right now accept this? Yes. Kaddish. There's nothing what to talk about. Right? Why? You accepted it. Nobody forced you to accept it. You accepted it. You accepted the terms. Right? Nothing to do with me. Yeah? So what happens? So because of that, what happens is the same thing over here. Really, Be'emet Balchov, Midoraita is what? Beziburit. The rabbis came and they hired it up to Benonit in order that we shouldn't close the door on the lenders, because we want the people to lend out money. So therefore, they picked it up to a higher level, to Benonit. Miyetomim, we go back to the Din Torah. What is the Din Torah? You go back to Ziborit. However, though, says Rava against Abaye, in this case, if right now the father of this Yitomim accepted a loan on condition of Idit, which means he came and accepted it. So now Midin Torah, it's Bidit. So therefore, because of that, even from the Yitomim, you will also collect from Idit. Right? Why? Because I go back to the Din Torah. Right? It wasn't that the Din Torah was Ziborit, and now the rabbis go back to Din Torah. Now the Din Torah is Zidit. So therefore I come and I collect from the Idit. So says the Gemara, 1 second. Ule Rava, but according to Rava, right, that he holds the Chachamim did not come and take out in order from like the Yitomim Din Torah. Vatani Avram Choza, Avram from the house, from the place of Choza comes and he says, En Nifraim Nichsei Yitomim Ela Min Zibori Vafilu En Nizikim. He says, 1 second. What about Nizikim? Right, Nizikim, what do you take? Right, what do you collect from Nizikim? Idit. Where does that come from? How do you know you take from Idit?
For who again?
For the Nizikim. Damages. How do we know you take from Nizikim? Which one? Yeah. Tell me the pasuk.
הקדש, אם שור נוגח בזה.
מיטב sadehu umeitav karmo yishalem. From there we learn that you have to pay from the tov of the sadehu. Umeitav parasha mishpatim, the exact same pasuk, what he said by the shore. Right? What does that mean? When you come and you have damagers, mina Torah, you have to pay from the edit. So he asks, according to Rava, he says, 1 second, Avram Chuzah says, En Ephraim say tomim elamina ziborit, vafilu nezikin. Even by nezikin, you also pay the ziborit. He says, 1 second. But nizakin is dinan doraita beidit. So why are you telling me that if it's a din, one more time, din doraita really be'emeh balchov is ziborit? The rabbis came and they picked it up. They made a berunit in order not to close the door on lenders. So therefore, when it's going to happen, that what? You're not going to go back to the ziborit, right? So therefore, midin Torah, we go back to the ziborit because it's yitomim. Comes now and he says, right? 1 second. He comes and he says, right? 1 second. He comes and he says, 1 minute. He comes and he says, what's going to happen in a case where you have the doraita beidit? Mazai doraita beidit. If you accepted upon yourself a condition, hatnai shekibalta latzmecha, say what? Beidit. Azim ze beidit. So what's happening? So he comes and he says, 1 second. So then leave it on the doraita. He says, ma'im nezikin. Nezikin, gam doraita beidit. It's also going to be with doraita dorit. Why? Because it says, mitav sadeo mitav karmo yishalem. Hu tzarich l'shalem, he has to pay with the best of his produce, the best of his fields. So it's going to be like that. So therefore, over there, we said from the Yitumim, what do you collect? Also ziburit. Lama u goveh עוד פעם בזיבורית. אמור להיות בעידית.
כי זה החוזה היה בהתחלה ככה? זה תמיד עידית יתומים.
לא. זה זיבורית ביתומים. Okay? That's what we just said until now. So the Gemara answers, Hacham ma'eskinan, what are we dealing with? כגון שהייתה עידית דניזק כזיבורי דמזיק. He says, no. The idit of the nizak was like the ziborit of the mazik. Rabbi Ishmael, this is Rabbi Ishmael. Ta'amar midoraita b'nizak shaymina. Right? Really, be'emet, we always evaluate. Anachnu shayminan b'ma b'nizak, in the damagee, one that got damaged. U'mipnei tikun ha'olam takinu rabbana b'mazik. But because of tikun ha'olam, the rabbi said we go after the mazik, not the nizak. So to do with the Yetomim, we go back to the Doraita, right? Which is going to be the Doraita, which is going to be, that we go to according to the Idit of the Nizak. And therefore, it's going to be the Ziburit in this case because of the Nizak. Elmaleh Rava comes and he says, can you compare both cases? Balchov dine midoraita beziburit. He says a balchov midoraita is beziburit, kedeula, like ula. De amar ula. Sorry, right? I'm sorry. I just repeated it again. So says the Gemara, any is it so? He says vatani Rabbi Eliezer nifta, taught Rabbi Eliezer nifta. Any frame nichsei to be Rabbi ziburit vafilu hen idit. We're only going to come and we're only going to pay back from the properties of the Yitomim from the ziburit, and even if it's going to be idit. What does it mean, even idit? He says, Lafa Valgav, right? He says, are we not talking about now? Dichtiv idit bishtara, that it's written in the shtar, which means that you're telling me that even though it's written in the shtar, it's still going to be ziburit. Answers the Gemara, no. My idit, what does it mean, idit? Shefai idit. We're talking about the idit, right, which was written in the shtar, the Malva is collecting, is not here anymore. And therefore, you cannot collect from it. So in this case, the Tnai is Batel, because it was only on an edit that was around. Now it's not around anymore. So therefore, it becomes like any other type of a minve. Kedarava, like Rava says. The Amar Rava says, Hizik Ziborit, right, Gove min edit. What happens if a person comes and he damages a property, which is Ziborit? He went and he damaged a property in North Miami Beach. But what does the Nizak collect from? From Surfside. Right? Why? From the Govem Ha'idit. He collects from the Idit. Shefai Ha'idit. Right? However, though, if after the Nezek, right, the Idit jumped, which means, right, it became destroyed, and now there's no more edit anymore. He could only collect from the benonit, right? So to do the yetomim, the rabbi said that it goes from the doraita, and therefore he could only collect his chol from ziburit and not from benonit. Everyone understood? One more time. What happened was is that keilu that you're right. In a document it was written edit. So if in the document it was written edit, midoraita it's edit. The edit disappeared.
It disappeared because of the wind, because of the
whatever it was stolen. It disappeared.
But the ground is edit. That's
no. Now it's worthless. Now it's worthless. It was stolen, right, or it was taken away. It's not here anymore. He brings down different cases of how exactly it was thing.
You're right. It's
right?
Downtown.
So therefore, he comes and he says, it says it was taken away from him or nitkalkilar, got ruined. If it gets ruined, what does it help? Yeah, you're going to give him a ruined property.
Depends on the crops.
You can't give him a ruined piece of property.
Yes.
Okay, so fine. 2 dots. 2 dots says any we already said that you're only going to collect, right? You're only going to collect from the properties of Yitomim, only from the ziborit. Says the Gemara by Ravach Tavoy Bar Ami. Ravach Tavoy Bar Ami comes and he asks the following question: Yitomim shamru kitanim or afilu gdolim. When we mention Yitomim, these Yitomim are talking about minors or even elders, elder Yitomim. Meaning, we just said Yitomim. Which Yitomim we talking about? Yitomim ze Yiladim Ktanim. So to mean mamash pachomi baro bat mitzvah, under bar mitzvah, or even above bar mitzvah. So says the Gemara, Takanta hui David Rabbanan beyatne. Did they make a takana by the Yitomim? Lektanim avud Rabbanan, and therefore they only made it for the Ktanim. Ve'eva legdolim lo avud Rabbanan, but for the Gdolim they did not make such a takana. Or Dilmar maybe Mishum de lo masikaдаita de malve de mit lo v'nafle nichse kamiyatne tavle noel delet hilka chafil gdaniami. Or he says no, but maybe be'emet the malve was not going to ever think that when he was lending out the money that the guy was going to die, and therefore, right, it's going to fall in front of the Yitomim, and therefore it's going to be because of this chashash. It's going to be noel delet bifnei loveh, because he doesn't want to come and think that he's only going to collect from the Yitomim. So therefore, since the malve never thought of that. So therefore, we don't have to come and start making a takana against the Yitomim, whatever it is, that now, no. So therefore, even if it's going to be Gedolim, also the same thing. We only collect from Ziborit. Why? We're not going to come, meaning nobody in the right mind, when he lent the money, he thought that the person was going to die. And therefore now he's going to leave over Yitomim. So Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. The Tani Abaye Kashisha. Abaye Azaken came and he taught, Yitomim Shamru Gedolim. The Yitomim that we're talking about, or even Yitomim Gedolim, we don't even have to mention Ktanim, that's for sure. But even the Gedolim we're talking about. So says the Gemara, why? Maybe this Braita is only talking about a Shavua, because the Chachamim say that you're never going to pay back from the Yitomim, ela b'Shavua. So maybe this is talking about Gedolim, the Kosher Ktanim. Tegadol b'mile de'avua k'tan nami. Because even though he's a Gadol, to do with the things of his father, he's a Katan. Aval inyan ziborit, but to do a ziborit, lo, which means like this. There's 2 different halachot by being paid back by the Yitomim. Halacha number 1, you have to swear. Why? Swear that the father didn't pay you back. How are the Yitomim going to know if the father paid him back or not? He comes now, he says, your father owed money, here's a document. How are they going to know? So therefore, the fact that he comes and he says, you own the money, says, okay, fine. You want the money, swear. You swear, you get the money. You don't swear, you don't get the money. So the first halakha is to do with Shavua. That Shavua applies even to Yitomim Gdolim, because even though they're Gdolim, they're like Ktanim. Why? Because the father always doesn't share with them all his business dealings. So therefore they're considered like a Katan. He's a 14-year-old. Yeah, it doesn't matter. He's a Katan. Fine. That's to do with Shavua. Second halakha is to do with what properties do you collect. So there's the Ziborit. So he comes and he says, when we just mentioned about the Yitomim, maybe we only spoke about the Yitomim as talking about Gdolim, only to the Shavua, but not to do with the Ziborit. Really, Be'emet, if somebody wants to collect from the Yitomim, if it's Yitomim Gdolim, he could collect from even Melonit. But if it's Yitomim Ktanim, it's Ziborit. Meaning, to do with Gdolim Ktanim, to do with Shavua, we didn't make a differentiation. But to do with collecting from the land, we didn't make a differentiation. What is halacha? Nun amud bet. Yitomim she'amru, the Yitomim that we said, Gedolim. are going to be gdolim. You don't have to say קטנים, בין לשבועה בין לזיבורית. זה לא משנה אם זה שבועה או זיבורית. זה בדיוק אותו דבר. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the gdolim or קטנים, they're yitumim. They're always yitumim. And therefore, you only collect from ziburit, and you only collect with the shavua. Yes, the Gemara. Okay. Nuna mubet, 2 dots. The 2 dots comes and he says now, En nifraim nechasim meshubadim imkom sheyesh bnei chorim. This is another halacha, very important halacha. If you have a property which is a free property, you cannot collect from a property that has a lien on it. So, for example, I come and I lent John Doe money, and John Doe doesn't pay me back. So I could collect from the field. Now he's got 2 types of fields. He's got a field that is has a lien in the bank, and he's got a field which is free. He already paid off the entire mortgage, right? He paid off everything, right? And then what happens? And now what? So I have a choice. But says the Gemara, I do not really have a choice because I cannot collect from a field that has a lien if there's a field that has no lien, right? It's just rule of thumb, right? You have to collect first from the things that does not have, that is free, and then I can start collecting. If there's nothing else, then I can start collecting from other things. So by Rav Achtavoy Barami asks Rav Achtavoy Barami, b'matana hayach. What's the case in a matana? Which means that the loveh comes and he gave karka benonit as a matana after he borrowed money. And now he only has ziburit in his hands. So can now the malveh collect and say, right, he could collect it or not? Everyone knows the case. One more time. I come and I borrow money. After borrowing money, I came and I took my field, which was a benonit field, and I gave it as a present to John Paul. So now John Paul has a present. It was a benonit field. Now all of a sudden, I didn't pay back my loan. So the malveh, the borrower, comes and he says, no, pay up. I don't have. Okay, so give me your field. Okay, so here, I have ziburit. He said, what was ziburit? You had benonit. No, I'm sorry, I already gave it as a present. I gave the benonit as a present. So the question is, what's halacha in such a case? Can the borrower come and can he collect it from the one of the matana or not? That's the question. One second. Nothing to do with the rev. I give it as a present. There's no arevut here. There's no rev. There's no guarantors. Because I only gave it after. I only gave it after the loan.
But did you pledge that? Is that his pikadon?
Why is that a pikadon?
Is this field, was that a collateral?
Let's explain the question again one more time. We're talking about the present that the borrower came and he basically got rid of it after he owed money, right? So you're right. It wasn't a subjugation. He didn't subjugate his fields to it. He didn't put it as a collateral, but he had the money. No, just gave it as a present. It's a beautiful way of doing it. It's a beautiful tactic. Imagine a person comes, right?
In divorce, in secular law, they're doing that. The husband is rich. He gets rid out of all his
properties, and that's it. And
then the woman goes, no, I have nothing.
Yeah, and then afterwards but usually they'll go after them, and they'll go after them in courts. And then if they prove that he still has it or that he'll try to get it back, or they'll be able to take it. That's the way it goes, right? So he says, "Takanta hu davud rabbanan mishum pseida de lekuchot." Are you going to say it's a takana that the rabbis did because of the pseida of the lekuchot, and therefore because of the takana, right? It's going to be said only in a mikra of mechira, of a sale. Aval matana, but matana deleka pseida lekuchot, that nobody's losing anything. No, we didn't say this takana, and therefore he could actually come and collect the matana. Meaning like this: if he sold the field, and now you come after the buyer, right? He's losing money now because he came and he paid me money for it. Now you're going to come and take it away from him, right? Why am I losing out? Why you should lose out? Not me. Why am I losing out? That's something else. Here, it was given as a present. If it was given as a present, nobody's losing our money. So he says, Odilmar, maybe, matana nami, maybe by a present also. He didn't actually have a benefit from it. Matana, he wouldn't have given it as a present. And therefore, considered say the lekuchot. Right? What do you mean say the lekuchot? Right? You're making them lose out. So the question is, what is the present over here? Do I say the present, the guy's losing out or not? And therefore, nafkamina, can the borrower can the lender collect the present or not? So Amale Mor Kashicha Beredar of Chasta says Mor Kashidar of the son of Chasta Rabashi. Tashima, we're going to try to bring a proof. Shchiv Mera Shamar, Shchiv Mera that says Tenu Matayim Zuz Liploni. Give 200 zuz to Ploni. Ushlosh Meo Liploni and 300 to this person. Varba Meo Liploni and 400 to this person. In Omrim, we do not say Kol HaKodem Bishtar Zacha. Anybody that's first is Zoche. Lefichach, and therefore, Yatsa Alav Shtar Chov. If there's a Shtar Chov on him, Ove Mikulan. He collects from all of them. So imagine a person's on his deathbed. He comes and he says, okay, he wants to give $100 to this person, $200 to that person, 300 to this person, 400. We do not say that whoever's written on the document first has a stronger will. No. Everyone's the same. So therefore, all of a sudden somebody comes and he says, 1 second, but this person that he was just dying, he just died, I have a document here. He owes me money. This guy comes and he collects from everybody. He can collect from everybody. Why? Right? The guy owes him money. So he comes and he says, right, as follows, he comes and he says, right, lefichach, and therefore, zacha, yatsa alav shachov, gove mikulan. Aval, right? Aval, however, though, if he said now, tenumatayim zuz leploni, give 200 zuz to this person. Ve'acharav, and afterwards another person. Ve'acharav, and another person. Omrim, we do say, kol hakodem mishtar zacha. Anybody that was there first is zoche, and the last ones cannot take their chelek before the first ones take it.
He's going to collect from the last ones.
Exactly. So you first collect from the last ones. If he still needs to collect more, he collects from the second last ones. He collects from the, so you continue going up. Okay? Lefichach, and therefore, that's alav sharchov govem min acharon. En lo govem mishelefanav. En lo govem mishelefanav. Makes sense? It's very simple. It's yeah? Okay. Common sense. Afal gav the kama benoni tu batra ziburit. And says the Braita, even though it's balchol, he's going to collect from the last one, right? He says he's going to collect the first one, he collected benonit. The last one, he got the ziburit. Mi ziburit gavi mi benoni lo gavi. He only takes from the ziburit and not from the benonit. Shema mina, you learn from here. B'matana nami avud rabanan takanta. That even by the matana, it's also the takana. Because basically like this, one more time. The first person, he collected benonit. The last one, he got ziborit. This person's a balchov. He should collect from the benonit. And what happened is that there's only ziborit left because he could only collect from the last guy first. For 1 second. But this guy was a shkimina, he gave a matana. So this is actually a proof that even by a matana, he could give it away and you couldn't collect from it. So now you can only collect from ziborit. Even though the matana that he gave away was a benonit. So says the Gemara, that's not a proof. Why? What are we dealing with in the Braita? The balchov of the shchiv mera. And therefore, we're not talking about a shchiv mera ragil. We're talking about a balchov of a shchiv mera. So only in this case, if he said the word ve'acharav, anybody that's before is going to be zoche. Okay? Then he's going to be zoche he's going to first collect from the last one and that. But not in a normal case. Ve'at tenu kamar. He says, 1 second, but I thought it's written tenu. You have to give it, which is giving it. Is a matana. It's not a balchov. It's a matana. He says, no, tenu bechobi. He says, give it as my debt. Meaning here, there was no presents. From the beginning, it was all debts. So he gave a debt to the first guy. He gave back a debt to the second guy. He gave back a debt to the third guy. So therefore, in there, it's not a matana. So for you can't compare matanot. There's nothing here. So says the Gemara, fine. Let's look at the documents. Whose document came first? Meaning, who was the one that first gave the debt, that first gave the loan? Says the Gemara, leka shtara, there was no shtar. So says the Gemara, va'kol hakodem b'shtar kama. He says, no, but the first one of the shtar is kodem. He says, no, b'shtar pekata. We're talking about the shtar tzavah. We're not talking about the shtar of the other shtar. We're talking about the shtar of the tzavah, which is basically the shtar of the will. That's where the shtar, not the shtar of there was no shtar. They didn't have any shtar. Or if you could answer, even if it's going to be a present, it's not a question. What does it mean from the acharon? It means that only the last one is going to lose out, right? Which means that the first one is not going to lose out. If you want, you could answer the shavu kula ala adadi. that all of them are equal, which means when the Shechit Benah came and he divided all his properties, they were all in the same place. So therefore, since they're all going to be in the same place, so therefore they're all equal in the stature. There wasn't the Idit and then the day that, no, they're all the same thing. So therefore, since they're all the exact same to do with the karkaot, they're all shaveh, so therefore you can't say that one is going to be Idit, one is going to be Benonit, and one is going to be Ziburit. They're all the exact same. Okay? En motziin la'achilat perot. We just said that we're not going to take out for achilat perot, nechasim mishubadim. Why? Because of tikkun ha'olam, which means that somebody that comes and he purchases a field, which was gizulam min gazlan, right, with achrayut, and the bala sadeh comes, right, and he takes out with the fruits. The koneh comes and he wants to collect the property, and he says, "What are you talking about?" So now the value of the property is going to be goveh from the koneh, also from the nechasim mishubadim. But the money of the perot only from the gazlan himself, and not from the nechasim that the gazlan sold to other people. Okay, that means he could only collect from the gazlan himself, from the stealer, not from the people that bought from him, right? Because at the end of the day, they didn't do anything. So my tama, what's the reasoning for this halacha? Amar ula, Amar Shakish says ula name of Shakish. Lefi she'en ketuvim. What does that mean? The itchayvut of the mocher to pay back the lokeach for the perot, right, is not written in the shtar mechira. Right? Meaning that it's not written in any document that he has to pay back the perot. So because of that, he doesn't have to pay back the perot from any type of nechasim mishubadim. So Elmaleh Rabbi Abba leula says Rabbi Abba to ula, ya v'hamazon ha'isha v'banot nichman dechtiv edam. Says 1 second. Mazon ha'isha and the banot, it's ki'ilu, it's already written in the shtar. It's ki'ilu, it's written there. Uktani, and we learned en motziin for mazon ha'isha v'banot nechasim mishubadim. So therefore, you see that the reasoning of our Mishnah is because you never take out from the Nechasim Mishubadim is not because of what Shakish just said here. It's because the Chov is not considered Katuv. It's not considered written. So anything which is not considered written, right, you cannot come and take it from the Nechasim Mishubadim. You can only take it from the Nechasim Benechonim, from properties which do not have a lien on it. So he says, Amarula, Ula comes and he says, Hatam, to do with the chiyuvim of mazon isha v'banot, mikara hachitkun. That was the takana from the beginning. Shektuvim etzu b'nei chorim, that it's only going to be by b'nei chorim. Then kutuvim etzu mishubadim, and it's not going to be by the mishubadim, which means like this. When they made this takana, that a person has to give the mezonot, whether it's to his wife and to his daughters, right? This takana was only by nechasim b'nei chorim. It was not going to be by nechasim mishubadim. Hechal Rabbi Yochanan, so too says Rabbi Yochanan, it's not going to be written in the shtar. Elmaleh that's like it's written. Elmaleh, he told me that was the beginning of the takana. That it's always only by bnei chorim. Okay, another reason for the Mishnah. Rabbi Chanina says, you know why perot or shevach karkaot and mazon isha v'banot? Do you know why, right? All these things, they do not come and take out from nechasim mishubadim, only b'nei chorim. Because lefi she'en ketzuvim, but there's no katzuv. What does that mean? Since the lekuchot, right, when they're going to come and they cannot stop them, right? They cannot do anything. So therefore, because of that, that's why he's saying they cannot collect from any types of properties. It's only from nechasim b'nei chorim. So we're going to come and we're going to ask the following question, right? He comes and he says as follows. He says, according to Chanina, what happens right now, in order for you to come to collect from Nechasim Mishubadim, you need, there has to be Katsuv plus, it has to be written. Katsuv is fixed, it's a fixed price, right? It's going to be fixed, plus that it's going to be written. That's what you're going to have to say. Or Dilmar, maybe Ketzuvin, even if it's going to be Katsuv, that means it's going to be fixed. That means the Chov is going to be fixed. Even though it's not going to be written in the document. So what's halacha? So we're going to try to bring a proof, right, which will be for Zat Hashem for tomorrow, which we're going to try to bring about different cases about that. If it has to be both, meaning it has to be also fixed debt plus written down, or even without that. And I believe that will continue to work.